looking back at what had happened last time we saw you in the cage, you've been through the sort of the unpacking process, if you like, of sort of processing that defeat and the somewhat bizarre circumstances in which the fight played out. Now that's all now in the rear-view mirror. How are you feeling now going into this one compared to the last one?
Feeling good. You know, it's been had a good little layoff after the fight. Obviously the fight didn't go to plan, to what we had planned, and there was unforeseen circumstances that caused that. But like I said, it is what it is now. I'm moving forward. I'm excited to go out there, perform again. I feel like I'm going in there to put my wrongs right. I feel like I owe it to the UK fans, I owe it to myself, and yeah, I'm excited for it.
It's an interesting one, this fight, right? The welterweight division is absolutely loaded with contenders. And you've got yourself into a position in the top 5 where every fight for you is now a big fight. If you lose, it has a big effect. If you have a win, it's a big effect. So when you were offered this on short notice, how much consideration did you have to make before you actually signed on the dotted line and said yes?
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's always risk. One guy's going to win, one guy's going to lose. But if you look at it that way, for me, it's a lot less risk. I beat Leon. I become the #1 contender. God forbid if I lost, I'm still right where I'm at. So for me, it's just a huge opportunity to show who I am in this division and go out there and be ranked #1 after beating Leon.
Leon said in a previous interview that he's been told that the winner of this is the #1 contender. If you had that confirmed that if you win this, you'll get a title shot next.
The last thing I asked was about that. I'm just worried about winning the fight, and I'll land where I land. You know, I beat Leon. I'll be right on my way to where I'm trying to go.
Going back to what we were saying about short notice changeover an opponent with Sean Brady, familiar style, all the rest of it. But what does he bring that you think is slightly different to the likes of Colby, to the likes of Kamaru, in terms of the way he approaches his wrestling and the way that he works when the fight is on the mat?
I think it's pretty similar for us, the wrestling takedowns. He probably got more submission threats in it as Usman and Colby's, and the Bilal, the more like riding pressure kind of wrestlers. He's more he'll go for stuff, you know what I mean, which give him more space to get up basically or to reattack. So if you've seen from the Burns fight, Burns is able to get up every time and reattacks every time, you know what I mean, because he kind of creates scrambles. As the other guys are more like pressure wrestlers, I would say, probably.
And talk to us about getting ready for Leon. Obviously, he was the champion for a while, so I'm sure you had your eyes on him for a long time. So how much prep time have you actually had dedicated to him specifically?
Yeah, I was trying to get this fight originally after my Gilbert Burns fight. It didn't happen. Obviously, Jack got the fight. So, but yeah, when you have only 4 or 5 guys ahead of you in the division, it's a little bit easier to get ready for guys. So you kind of are always just training with knowing in mind that I could fight Leon, I could fight Jack, I could fight Kamaru or Shavkat. So you kind of just have those thoughts in your back of your mind. So yeah, and it's a fight I won it. I've southpaw, tall guy. I've had opponents like that in the past, so it's nothing new.
How do you assess Leon's last performance in comparison to his previous ones as champion?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it wasn't his best performance, but if you go and you look stylistically at like when he fought Kamaru, even the third time, Kamaru still did very well. That fight's a lot closer than what I think people remember it to be. And then obviously the fight before that, before he landed the head kick, Kamaru was dominating him, you know, same way Bilal was. So yeah, he's slick. He's a very good striker. I just have to be present in the moment for 25 minutes, and I'll get my hand raised.
And seeing the face-off between the pair of you at the O2, the height difference was pretty
I
pretty
didn't
clear
know
to see. It was quite surprising.
Yeah, I didn't know it was that small. When I walked up, I thought, like walking towards him, yeah, like his back turned to me, right? I thought, I look for what the fuck, Sean. Then turned around, I was like, what the hell? So yeah, I think it's about 5'9", probably 5'8", 5'9". I feel like the size difference, the reach, the strength will play a big part in the fight, you know.
I think you said in a previous interview that you've been told that this is a #1 contender fight. You've been given assurances you've got the title fight if you win this.
For me, yeah, 100%. I feel like I'm still ranked #1 in the division. There's been no movement in the division since I last fought. I'll go out there, get a good performance against Sean, put him away. finish him. I feel like that put me right back in line to where I feel I belong, you know. And yeah, 100%.
How much of a blueprint do you think Bilal set for your performance this weekend, given what he did in Manchester last year?
I don't think he set a blueprint. I'm going to go do. Me and Bilal are different fighters, but it definitely showed some things that I was already confident in doing. But yeah, I'm a different fighter, and I think it's going to look a little bit different this time.
And last one from me, just on the topic of Bilal. Obviously, he's the one guy who has given you your sort of sole career loss at the moment. How much extra motivation is that to know that potentially he could be next for you and you could get the chance to maybe avenge that and get the belt at the end of it?
Yeah, it's definitely motivation, but I know eventually we're going to fight again, whether I fight Bilal when he's champion or if I fight Bilal for a number one contender spot. Eventually, it's going to happen. You know, I have nothing but respect for Bilal. He gets a lot of hate for no reason, but yeah, it's definitely one I want to get back as a competitor.
Kind of like your Roy Jones Jr. type moment where you're going to remind people just how good you are. Obviously, you had an off night in Manchester, but this is now that everything
100%.
is ideal, that this is going to be the time.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like Saturday night is more for me, right? I want to go out there and put my right wrongs, and I know that I'm better than what Manchester was. You know what I mean? And it's more about going out there and just putting it right for me more than anybody else. You know what I mean? And just showing the world like who the fuck I am. You know.
And you mentioned there that you earmarked Leon as a potential opponent after fighting Gilbert. Was it the stylistic matchup or just the fact that he's a former champion and you could use him as a stepping stone to get to where you want to be that made you want to fight him?
Yeah, former champion. I have goals in my career that I want to hit, like fighting UFC veterans, fighting guys who have fought for the belt. Then I want to fight somebody who was a former champion, which is Leon. So I just something that would get me in the direction I want to go, and something personally. If it was Leon or Kamaru, that's like the kind of guys I was looking for. Nothing but respect, but yeah, just trying to get those names on my resume.
To come back to London and to entertain your fans in that sense. But like I said, Sean Brady is another tough up and comer that I got to go out there and get rid of, you know.
Yeah. You're once again the underdog going into this fight. It's a position you've been in a lot in your career, but a position you always tend to thrive in. Do you sort of relish that opportunity to sort of prove people wrong, or do you see it more as like a disrespect?
Nah, it don't really bother me, you know. Like I said, I've been underdog in many fights, and I haven't lost before the last fight. I haven't lost in almost 10 years. So, nah, like I think all these odds that means nothing. You know what I mean? I've proven time and again that I'm one of the best in the division now.
You've predicted that you were going to choke out Leon on Saturday. What is it you've seen from Leon previously that makes you confident of being able to do that?
It's not what I see in Leon. It's just what I see in myself. I think if you have a neck, I can choke you. Leon has a neck, so I'm going to try to choke him.
You mentioned briefly about how you're different from Bilal. Leon's fought a lot of wrestlers recently. What makes you stand out from the other competition that he's fought?
Because a lot of those guys are just strictly wrestlers. Like Colby's a wrestler, Kamaru's a wrestler. If you look at their records, none of them really have submissions. I just think I'm like a much bigger submission threat than a lot of the guys he's fought, and I think I'm the biggest submission threat in the division. So yeah, I just think I'm a different level of grappler.
Leon, so Sean has predicted how he sees the outcome of the fight. What's your response to that, first of all? And
What was the prediction?
He said a submission.
Okay.
Second or third round.
I can't see that happening. I've never been in a submission threat in my career, really. I fought better jiu-jitsu guys than him. For me, I'm going out there to put my weight. Like I said, if Bilal can stop you with punches, I'm going to hurt you. You know what I mean? And like I said, seeing the size difference, I feel like once it feels my physicality, yeah, I feel like I'll stop him, you know. And
do you think you need to finish Leon to get above Shavkat for a title match?
I'm not trying to get a title shot out of this, you know. I'm not trying to rush it. That's what I did before in my career. With the Bilal fight, I was pushing for that so hard, and it turned out that wasn't the night for me, you know. So I'm going to go out there. I'm going to do my job, get my hand raised by any means necessary, and then wherever I go from there, I go.
So let's see.
And how does it, or does it at all, impact your preparations when you hear opponents being so brazen in how they are going to approach the fights?
But that's the only thing you can say. Not say, "Oh, I'm going to go out there and knock him out." You know what I mean, he's going to go out there, he's going to wrestle, and he's going to look for a submission. That's the way he fights, right? So whether he said it or not, I probably would have fought that anyway. You know what I mean? Just from watching his tapes, and he fights the same way every single fight. I can't see him changing, and he didn't beat no one really apart from Gilbert Burns in the top 10. You know what I mean? So if you're looking at resumes and what's what, I feel like there's levels to the game, and Saturday night I show him the levels, you know.
Yeah, here.
Oh, what's up, brother?
Yeah, good. If you beat Leon, you'll become the #1 contender. Would you be disappointed if the UFC didn't offer you that next? Because all week Leon has been saying that it's an immediate rematch next. It's the title next for me. Would you be disappointed if that wasn't your next fight?
No, I think that's a bad look on Leon to be thinking about other people when all I'm thinking about is fighting him. You know, he's thinking about #1 contenders and getting back at Bilal and talking shit about Bilal. But he's got someone who's trying to kill him Saturday night in front of him, and he has more things to be concerned about than being a #1 contender in the division.
Made some rounds on social media last night. A potential staph infection on your arm. Is there any update you can offer on that?
I actually did had it like this is about six weeks ago. Took antibiotics for it. It's gone. I know it affects cardio-wise or nothing. You know what I mean? I was fine. I don't know if it was staph. It was like a bite or something. But yeah, that's 6 weeks ago. Nothing affected. Nothing, and I'm good.